قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضاه. الامتحان, the test. This is the test which is going to examine whether you have understood the chapter of As-Sukun. And not only is it testing your understanding of As-Sukun, it's also going to be testing you on the previous concepts that we've studied throughout this series. The harakat, fatha, kasra, dhamma, the mudud, when do you elongate, when don't you elongate, and the sukuns also. And likewise, qalqala, the huruf al-qalqala, when to apply qalqala, when not to apply qalqala, and so on. So, let's start. Bismillah.
وأمطرنا عليها حجارة جعلنا عاليها سافلها لنراك فينا ضعيفا وإلى مدين أخاهم وما أمر فرعون برشيد إنه بما يعملون خبير اجعلوا بضاعتهم ولا تقم على قبره في طغيانهم يعمهون فبدأ بأوعيتهم وحففناهما بنخل وإذا رأوا تجارة وكان أمره فرطا يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي.
Shadda. This is a new concept that we're going to learn in this lesson, inshallah. بربي.
أكثرهم لا يعلمون قاب قوسين أو أدنى وبشرى للمؤمنين وأتوني مسلمين أفرغ علينا صبرا إذ نادى وهو مكظوم ويخرج أضغانكم فيحفكم تبخلوا.
لا تزد إلا إذا أصاب جميعا. Don't move on or don't add anything else unless you get all of them correct. The new concept that we're going to be learning today, and this is the final concept in the series, in fact this is the final lesson in the series inshallah, is what is known as shadda. Shaddatun. Shaddatun, which literally means tightening, pulling something together. Shaddatun, the opposite of loosening something. What is shadda? Shadda is symbolized, or the indication of shadda is something that looks like this. In fact, we have an example here on the word itself. So it's this which is placed on top of the letters. It appears on top of the letters. This is what shadda is. Yani the symbol for shadda is like a little W. Shadda represents a double letter. Whenever you see a shadda on top of a letter, it means that there is actually, that letter which you see the shadda on is actually a double letter. Two of the same kind. So there's actually two dals here. If you break down the shadda, it actually means that there's two dals. Another example, this word, Rabbun. So the shadda is on the ba, it means there's actually two bas. Whichever letter has the shadda, it means there's two of those letters. The first of these letters, whenever a letter has a shadda is going to be sakin. The first of the two letters is always going to be sakin. This is why we study the chapter of sukoon before entering into shadda, because we need to understand sukoon first. Yeah? So the first of the two letters is sakin, and the second one varies depending on what is accompanying the shadda. So the shadda is always going to be accompanied by one of 6 things, either fatha or kasra or dhamma or fathatain or kasratain or dhammatain. These 6 can come, or one of these 6 can come in the end. So if it's at the end of a word, you might find one of these 6 accompanying the shadda. But if it's in the middle of the word, it's only going to be these 3. Only these 3 that are going to come if the shadda is in the middle of a word. That's because we don't have fathatain, kasratain, dhammatain in the middle of a word. Fathatain, kasratain, dhammatain only appear in the end, at the end of a word, as we mentioned previously. So shadda only appears in the middle or at the end of a word. It never comes at the beginning of a word. The reason why it doesn't come at the beginning of a word, the same reason why sukoon doesn't come at the beginning of a word. It's impossible to pronounce. The Arabs don't begin words with sukoon, and the shadda is half of it is partially a sukoon. It's built up of a sukoon and one of these 6. So in this case, the dal with a shadda is built up of sukoon and a fatha. So this is actually what we're reading when we read this. But bear in mind, the first letter which has the sukoon, if it's from the qalqala list, we don't do qalqala here. Here we don't do qalqala. These both examples, the first letter is a qalqala letter, but we don't do qalqala. So we're not going to read it as shada, shada, shadadatun, shadadatun. No, we don't do that. Here there's no qalqala. So we're going to hold the dal, then read the fatha. When we read the shadda, it's as though we're reading this. Shaddatun. Shaddatun. This shadda is this, basically. But we don't write this. Instead of this, we write this. So the shadda means that there's 2 letters of the same kind. The first is sakin, we need to hold it. This is where the shadda comes. You need to hold it. You tighten the letter, the makhraj of the letter. You hold it. Shad. Then you let go, depending with what, you let go with whatever haraka it's accompanied with. So in this case, shaddatun, shaddatun, shaddatun. In this case here, rab, and then it's followed by tanween of dhammatain. Rabbun, rabbun. Another example. Muhammadun. In this case, we have 2 memes. One meme has a sukoon, as always. The first will always have a sukoon, and the second has a fatha. Muhammadun. If this had a kasra, the first would always have a sukoon, then it will be Muhammi. If you had a dhamma, Muhammu. طيب, I hope this is understood. So shadda, whenever we see shadda on a letter, it means that letter is actually 2, it's double of the same letter. The first will always have a sukoon, the second depends on what is accompanying the shadda. It could be any one of these 6 if it's at the end. If it's in the middle, then it's one of these harakat, fatha, kasra, dhamma. I hope this is understood. So we hold the letter. Firstly, we hold it because of the sukoon. We hold the letter, then we release with whatever harakat, with whatever haraka it has. طيب, let's give some examples. Okay, so here on the board we have some examples of letters which contain the shadda. Let's read them now. The first one says qa, and then the ra has a shadda. So we're going to hold. We're going to hold first, and then we're going to release with a fatha. Qar, ra. قرب قرب قرب. Next one, the ra also has a shadda, and then we're going to release with a kasra. Yuqa, yuqar. So we need to hold the ra first. Whenever we have a shadda, we hold it. We need to read the letter with a sukoon first. Yuqarribu, 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 yuqarribu. Here the sheen has a shadda. فبشره فبشره فبشره. يتبعون يتبعون يتبعون. ولكل غلا غلا غلا. This one there's no shadda. I want to compare how we read it without shadda and with shadda. So same word, but one does not have a shadda and the second has a shadda. This says ala, ala. We stretch it 2 counts. Ala. Whereas this one we say alla, 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 alla. حولي 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 حولي. In this case, even though the first ya has a sukoon and is preceded by a kasra, it's not mad letter in this case. We don't say حولي حوليهم. We don't stretch. So even though it's supposed to be a mad letter, we don't stretch. We don't say حولي. In this case, this is an exception where the ya has a sukoon and is preceded by kasra. We don't stretch. We say حولي. We hold the ya. حولي حوليهم حوليهم حوليهم. And the same for waw. If there was a waw with a shadda and it was preceded by a dhamma, we wouldn't stretch it. We wouldn't stretch it. It's not a mad letter in that case. طيب. مت متعناهم متعناهم. So shadda basically is a combination of sukoon and the harakat. If you've understood sukoon, how to read sukoon, and you've understood the harakat, a combination of those two gives you shadda. So this is the new concept of today's lesson. It's very easy, inshallah. We are going to practice our reading and we're going to learn more rules, inshallah, when we begin our next course, which is Medina Book 1, inshallah. We're going to start Medina Book 1, and there we're going to learn more concepts and more rules which we have not taken yet. But hopefully, I hope that this series has given us an understanding, a basic understanding at least, of reading and writing Arabic. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it a beneficial endeavor and to make it a source of benefit for Islam and the Muslims. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.